we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come on along. Welcome into a Monday edition of Indiana Sports Beat. I hope you had a great weekend. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate it greatly. I hope your day is off to a good start. You had a great weekend. Justin Caitlin, high top, the Crew Chiefs box.
That's right.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Let's get to straight to the headlines.
All right, here are your headlines for this Monday, December 10th, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Former Hoosier Eric Anderson passes away this morning at age 48. Causes unknown at this time. Another big weekend for Indiana athletics. Soccer loses, unfortunately, to eventual champion Maryland. Indiana women's basketball extends their nation-long 14 straight wins to 15 with a 98-74 win over Missouri State. And Indiana men's hoops defeats Louisville 68-67 on Saturday. Your Monday night football game tonight, Vikings at Seahawks. Those are your headlines for this December 10th, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
And welcome back. I hope you had a great weekend. It was a busy weekend, that's for certain. Basketball, soccer, all over the place.
Yep.
Somber note about Eric Anderson. Very unfortunate. Only 48 years old, Eric Anderson, a prominent member of the Indiana Hoosiers basketball team from 88 through 92, passed away at 48, like Justin said.
Way too young.
Anderson had been a former Mr. Basketball in the state of Illinois before coming to Indiana. His senior season, Indiana was a Final Four member, losing to Duke in that semifinal game, which they got screwed over by Teddy Valentine. That's not a joke. They probably should have won the national championship.
I wonder how many times you could say that in Indiana's basketball
lot.
lifetime.
Anderson finished his career at IU with over 1,700 points and over 800 rebounds. He spent 2 years with the Knicks in the NBA from 92 to 94. Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
I got a text from Todd Leary last night telling me that, and I'm like, what?
Life comes at you quick.
Second member off that team to pass away. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Daryl Thomas. Daryl Thomas passed away. He was on the 87 team.
Gotcha.
But a huge weekend for Indiana inbound the basketball court. Big win over the University of Louisville. The women's team, as Justin said, they continue to roll. 15-game winning streak. That comes on the heels of last season's NIT champions, WNIT champions, which they hung that banner.
Yep.
And now they've just hit the ground running, man.
Got different goals this year.
9 straight wins to open the season, including wins over Butler and UCLA.
Big wins over Butler and UCLA.
Well, and I was thinking that's a team that had 2 really big stars last year. One superstar in Tyra Buss and Amanda Cahill. And they didn't get as much, I think. I think that they were too star-oriented. Now I think that they're more diverse.
Yep.
And are a much tougher team to deal with, obviously, with that 9-0 mark to start the season. How about the win over Louisville?
Scrape and claw that one out.
Boy, I'm telling you, gritty. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. I get that pulled up. But, boy, that was something.
Yeah.
Indiana certainly made it, I don't know if it's exciting is the right word, but
Nerve-wracking would be the word I used.
yeah, Louisville forgot the donuts.
Me too. Don't worry.
Trevor, we forgot the donuts.
They're coming.
Yeah. Lost a dozen donuts on that deal. I kind of knew that before the game started.
See, I didn't. I've had a really good feeling before the game. But
It's
then
not-
they came out so flat. Louisville came out hitting almost everything, it seemed like. Took the crowd out of it real quick.
I didn't I didn't expect them to lose.
No.
But I expected a close game, which it was.
That's why I was so confident that Indiana was going to win that game. I offered somebody 10-1 odds on a bet. I said, you pay me 20, Indiana wins. I'll pay you 200 if Louisville wins.
That's dumb.
I was that confident Indiana would win. I literally gave Louisville a 1% shot to win that game. They had not played in a tough road environment like that yet at this point in the season. And it was nothing against Louisville. It's just the fact that Assembly Hall is so hard to play at. I mean, it's not a place you walk into and just casually get a win.
No, but they did a great job of taking the crowd out of the
Absolutely.
game. I mean, there was a lot of remarks on how Assembly Hall's always great, but it wasn't at its peak.
No.
Louisville kept them out of the game. I mean, that was something that was noticeable during the game. I'm like, wow, the crowd's not been into this yet. And until it was midway through the second half.
It was 8 minutes left. They got their first lead.
But there was like, I don't know how long before that. They kept flirting. They were a point behind. I don't know how many series. It had to be 5 or 6 trips.
Yeah, I think it was either 4 or 5 possessions where they had an opportunity to grab the lead and just couldn't do so.
I was pre-typing a tweet to send out that they got their first lead, and I had it hashtag IU basketball gets its first league on a blank basket from so and so. I had to keep deleting it and start over. I'm like, God, you guys are killing me, man. But Rob Finney hit a big 3 to give him that first lead.
Yeah.
And the second lead, I think.
Mm-hmm. The final lead.
Great job. Romeo did a great job being Romeo. The inside presence, Louisville owned the paint in the beginning, which is what they wanted. But Archie, he started Deron Davis in the second half.
Which I loved. Thought it was a great move.
Paid instant dividends. Deron gave him some great, he played like 13 minutes and change, but those were great minutes. He was 3 of 4 from the field, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. What a great added minutes he brought to the table. And Indiana was able to take over the paint in that second half. And if you listen to Chris Mack in the postgame, you heard him talk about that, how they struggled with getting the ball into the paint. Louisville was hitting. Well, they sure put the three-pointers up.
Yeah.
Like 32 of them.
Yeah.
They hit 11.
And thank God they cooled off because they started the game pretty hot in terms of three-point shooting.
Yeah, and Indiana certainly did not.
No.
Not their forte.
In the first half, I don't remember Indiana taking a whole lot of threes. Maybe 5, 6 of them. They only ended up with 14, so.
They took 14 for the game, but
Yeah.
they only hit 4.
Mm-hmm. Not good.
It's 29%. But a bigger problem to me, again, as we've talked about this before, free throw line.
Yeah.
They were able to get to the free throw line 25 times, but they only hit 16. 64%. That's a minimum 10% too low.
That is 10% lower than what they shot last game.
Well, that's the only game they've shot above 70%, too.
Sure.
I mean, you look at the women's team; they're 9-0 this season. They're hitting 10% better at the free throw line.
Yeah.
You've got to hit free throws. It's just you've got to hit free throws. You're not going to go anywhere if you don't hit free throws. It's going to catch up to you. And if you look at their games being so close, it's a matter of time. When you get on the road, man. But a gritty win, no doubt. They don't wow you, but they seem to do enough to win right now.
Yeah.
But that's not something I want to rely on the road in the Big Ten.
No. That's a dangerous way to live.
Brutal path coming. But a gritty win. I mean, heck of a job. They battled. They stayed in. They did what it took. They played great post defense. Justin Smith. Got to give a shout-out to Justin Smith. I think he had a good game. He had 9 points. He had 9 rebounds. I mean, hell, he was right there at a double-double. 4 of 8 from the field. He was very aggressive at the rim. He played good defense.
Truly not a whole lot more that you can ask out of Justin Smith.
No.
He knew his role this game, and he played it well.
Actually, that's a great effort, to be honest with you. 9 points, 9 rebounds.
Sure.
I mean, just look how big that would have looked if it was 10 and 10. And then we're just talking about one difference. Just that double-double. But it's a big game.
Yeah.
Rob Fennessy, 10 points. 3 of 5 behind the arc. That was huge. They did a great job not turning the ball over. You know, funny thing is Devontae Green had 3 turnovers. He only didn't play that much.
15 minutes.
3 turnovers in 15 minutes.
Out of a team, 10 turnovers.
Yeah, Rob Fennessy had 3 turnovers in 33 minutes.
Yeah.
And he got the ball in his hands all the time.
That tells you right there why Fennessy's starting and Devontae's not.
You got it. Indiana did a great job defending Louisville shooting overall. They held them to 38%. That's a good day.
Yep.
I mean, they were jacking up the threes, but they're, like I said, they were 11 of 32. So big win by Indiana. Now they have a week off. They take on Butler on Saturday.
Tough week, finals week. Then you got to go play Butler, who had a really nice win this weekend. I'm trying to remember who they beat.
Well, you do that while we hit a break.
There you go.
We've got plenty more coming up. Of course, Don Fisher's on the program today. We'll talk to Drew Davis. Got plenty to get to. Stay tuned. Welcome into Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming right back.
These are the days when you wish your bed was already made. It's just another manic Monday.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Joined now by Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. Sammy, how are you, sir?
Doing great. How are you?
Getting by to Monday. We got get it started here. Somber note, of course. I'm not sure if Eric Anderson, a former member of Indiana's basketball team, passed away over the weekend. So a somber note there as we get started to the week. But a lot's going on, I know, in the football world. Before we get to IU football, did you see the finish in the Dolphins-Patriots game?
Yeah, I loved it.
That never works hardly at any level. But for it to not only work in the NFL, but against the Patriots, it seems poetic justice.
It's fantastic. Maybe they'll start second-guessing putting offensive players on defense now.
But, yeah, what a wild finish. If y'all didn't see that, check it out. Dolphins do the old basically flea flicker at the end, laddering back to score last play of the game. A lot of big recruiting in the news going on for Indiana football. How's that trailing off?
Seems like all the visits went pretty well. They had a big weekend, so a good basketball game, and signing days coming up here in about 9 days, and we'll see where they're at.
Yeah, Indiana is continuing hitting the recruiting trail hard as we get closer and closer to the signing date coming to an end. What's the anticipation for Indiana's recruiting class this season?
Anticipation is that it's going to be pretty decent class. You got a couple more pieces that you need to add before signing day. You're going to have what seems to be like a good size group of mid-year enrollees, and we'll see. There's got to be some attrition too. From IU, and it seems like there has. Austin Thorus is transferring. Devondre Love is calling it a career. Isaac James went through senior day festivities, so it looks like there's some spots opening up, and IU's going to fill them.
Indiana's done a great job here of late, especially of adding what you call athletes, for lack of a better term, guys that they may play quarterback in high school, but not necessarily going to do that in college, but they're so good they can play anywhere. Indiana seems to be doing a heck of a job recruiting those type of athletic guys under Tom Allen.
Yeah, it's started under Kevin Wilson, where I think there was one, I forgot what year it was, but there was one class where it was
was Mike Bajet's class. So I think it was the 2015 class, where they had 4 or 5 guys who played quarterback in high school, and they just brought them in to be athletes. Him, Bajet, Isaac James, and some others that I just blanking on the names. But you get the best athletes, and nowadays you're looking for body type and length and all those things instead of putting up gaudy numbers in high school. And you move your pieces around, and with the strength depth that they have, you could take a guy who has a bigger frame playing quarterback and move him just about anywhere except for probably on the lines.
And as we move forward, what's the biggest pieces that they really need to add to this class that they're looking for?
They need to get a quarterback. I think, with just you have Michael Penix, but you need 3 guys on scholarship, and you need to start building those classes behind it. It's something that Wilson really never did well outside of Nate Sudfeld, and he came with Seth Luttrell from Arizona as a commit. So I think quarterback's a big need. They need to they need to beef up the lines as well. They need to balance out that offensive line in terms of age, and then you got to get some playmakers on the defensive line. You need somebody who's going to harass the quarterback, and you need a guy who will shore up the defensive tackle position as well.
Yeah, it always seemed a little ironic under Kevin Wilson that the quarterback room was always a little suspect, which that's kind of his position per se. But it just seemed a little weird to me that was always a position that was tenuous under his regime.
Well, yeah, outside of 2013, the quarterback position was not handled the best. In 2012, when Roberson went down with the leg injury, they used Sudfeld and Cam Kaufman together, kind of burnt Sudfeld's year. Whereas maybe if the rules were different, like they were this year, that's one of those four game candidates where you preserve his redshirt year and you balance that out. Maybe instead of just having Sudfeld, you keep one more of them. But the recruiting side of it, it's Kevin Wilson was a rough guy who's hard on his quarterbacks, and he's a tough guy to play for. And although they put up gaudy numbers, he just never could land that next guy, and it shows that it's affecting the team now. It's taking its toll, and lots of people want to blame Mike DeBord and Tom Allen, but it still goes back to Kevin Wilson and that staff for dropping the ball on recruiting a quarterback. And quarterbacks usually commit early in the process, and you have to get on them early. And it always seemed that IU was late on guys.
And it's a little odd to me, since that Kevin Wilson's offense was a very prolific one, but of course the quarterback is probably the most important centerpiece of everything he does. And it just seems odd that was the position that they didn't recruit well under him. It's just weird.
Yeah, it is. It's something that you really can't put your finger on, other than there may be a lack of vision or a lack of connection there between coach and players. But it is what it is. The staff is trying to pick up the pieces on that end, and it's taken ever since 2012 that quarterback position. Now it's 2019. It's been 7 years.
As we go forward, knowing what we know, we kind of know the pieces that are coming back next year and know what they have. What's early on? What should the expectations be for this team? I mean, to me, they were a little higher this year, coming off of a really good defensive year. And speaking of which, you mentioned that about that redshirt issue with Sudfeld. Can you imagine if he'd had that extra year? Indiana would have been a pretty damn good team that last year.
Yeah, and then you could, you bridge the gap between Sudfeld and somebody else. It's all in the past, hindsight 2020. But it would have been, It's fun to think what they could have done with Sudfeld in 2016 had he been there.
Yeah, it would have been a fun year. What are the legitimate expectations next year for this team?
I don't know. It's early. Just looking at the schedule, it's not an easy schedule. You should win. They should go 3-0 in non-conference. Playing UConn, who's arguably the worst team in FBS. You're playing the open season against Ball State at Lucas Oil, and Riley Neal is transferring, and I think James Gilbert graduated. And that's going to be a down year for Ball State next year, and then you have Eastern Illinois at home from the FCS. So that should be 3 wins, but the problem is you still got the 4 games out of the Big Ten East with Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and Michigan State. If you want to call it the easier of the 2 games, they're on the road in Michigan State and Penn State this year, and you can pencil those in for probably 4 losses. And then what the killer is the draw out of the West. You get Northwestern at home, and Northwestern's bringing Hunter Johnson in to play quarterback, and they're defending champions of the West. And then you have to go to Nebraska, who started playing well at the end of the season, and then you have to go to Purdue. So it really gives IU no margin for error. Now you're playing 7 teams that you could easily lose to, and 4 of them are on the road. It's not an easy schedule. And then you get Rutgers at home and Maryland on the road, and we'll see. We'll have to see. I have to see spring ball. I have to see how Penix looks. I have to see how the defense looks and things like that. But the expectations need to be tempered a little bit. I think as much as people don't want to admit this, Tom Allen came into a rebuilding job, and as nice as it was to go to 2 bowl games, it wasn't a continuation of Kevin Wilson's tenure with Tom Allen. So he had a bit of work to do to balance rosters, to get that. You already saw the cracks in the foundation in 2016 with the lack of a running game, explosive running game, struggles in the passing game, and the offense took a step back in 2016 from 2015, which is understandable when you lose Sudfeld. But it's the cracks in the foundation were already there, and I think this is a bigger rebuilding project than most people will care to admit.
They had certainly some good recruits at the Indiana-Louisville basketball game this past Saturday. An uncommitted 4-star linebacker, Cameron Williams. You had 4-star wide receiver David Bell and 4-star defensive tackle Christian Williams.
Yeah, they had a good group of guys on campus. Probably the recruiting weekend in a long time for IU. It'd be nice to land a couple of those guys. They had Reggie Todd on campus as well, who's a wide receiver at 6'5". He'd be a great weapon to use along with, Donovan Hale and Nick Westbrook as far as size goes. And, we'll see. It's great that IU basketball won that exciting game and the fans were engaged. And all those things, it just makes that much better.
I know David Bell Penn State has had had their claws into him pretty well. Indiana's coveting him, of course, but also Purdue. And with Jeff Brom staying there, do they become a favorite to get David Bell, or is he still a Penn State lean, do you think?
think he's a Purdue lean, at least according to 247's Crystal Ball. We'll see. You got, 9 days until signing day. So I think IU's more of a long shot in that group.
How prolific would that make Purdue's offense if they can land David Bell alongside with Rondale Moore with a returning quarterback?
We'll see. You go as far as your offensive line takes you, and I think Purdue loses 8 or 9 upperclassmen from their too deep, and they'll have to replace them because if you don't have time to throw the ball, it doesn't matter if you have, Jerry Rice and Randy Moss back there. If you have half a second to throw it, you're not going to do a lot of damage.
Absolutely. Sammy Jacobs from HoosierHuddle.com. Please check out the free content, the complete coverage of Indiana football. Sammy, thank you so much for joining us, brother.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
Have a great Monday. Sammy Jacobs from HoosierHuddle.com. We've got plenty more to get to on the program here on Indiana Sports Beat. Don Fisher's along. Drew Davis is coming next. We're going to talk some basketball recruiting. Lots to talk about from Southport over the weekend. Trace Jackson Davis and Keon Brooks going at it. We'll be right back with more right after this.
Love isn't always on time. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Drew Davis from Peaks.com joining us now. Talk a little bit of recruiting before we get to that, Drew. A very sad note for Indiana basketball. We mentioned earlier Eric Anderson, member of the 1994 Final Four team in Indiana, has passed away at the age of 48. Very unfortunate and untimely for him, but member of a great team, one of the great teams at IU.
Yeah, very sad story, and you see somebody pass away, that young. It's always it's very sad, and not the first one the Indiana basketball program has had. Someone passing away way too young, and hopefully that's not something that continues, and the family continues to be strong.
Absolutely, a big weekend in high school action for recruiting-wise. Southport was the spot, man. There was 8 games going on all day long at Southport. I think you were there for all of them, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there for most of them, with the exception of some in the middle, because I had to catch the Indiana Louisville game, but I was there for the morning games and the nightcap, and the nightcap was pretty good, getting to see IU signees Armand Franklin and Trace Jackson Davis, along with IU target Keon Brooks Jr.
Then you also have Isaiah Stewart playing in that game.
Yeah, Isaiah Stewart, man. Indiana's really not involved with him, but he's a heck of a player. You got to see him and Trace Jackson Davis go at it, and you got to think Trace, being that he plays in the high school team, it's kind of one versus 5 per se, So obviously the workload on Trace is a lot heavier, but Trace battled with him for a while. For 3 quarters, I'd say Trace probably had the bragging rights in the matchup, and then in the 4th quarter, Isaiah showed why he's a top 10 player in the country. He just walled up Trace on the defensive end, and it was phenomenal, and used his body to his advantage. He's got a very advanced body for a high school senior, and upper body is very strong. And Isaiah is a really good player. And as far as I'm concerned, outside of any big man, outside of James Wiseman, I would take Isaiah Stewart. I like how consistent he is. I like his motor. I like how well he finishes around the rim, and I just like how hard he competes. And he's a guy I'm looking forward to seeing at the next level.
Well, there was no lack of star power there from a coaching standpoint, as Archie Miller, he made it over there as soon as the Louisville game was over in Bloomington. Of course, Kentucky's coach John Calipari was there, as was Michigan State's Tom Izzo, all checking Isaiah Stewart and probably Keon Brooks out.
Yeah, Archie Miller was there for Keon Brooks and Trace Jackson Davis, and then Tom Izzo and his entire staff for Michigan State came down to see Isaiah Stewart. that's why they're full established there. And Coach Guy was there for both Stewart and Brooks. And Brooks was really good on Saturday night. He was probably the best player on the floor, in my opinion. 22 points, 9 rebounds, and a block. He really showed a well-rounded game. He's still hitting the mid-range like he has. He's always been just an exceptional player in the mid-range, and that's continued. But the thing I noticed with Keon is his shot's really taking a step forward from three-point range. He drove more outward since I saw him over the summer, and on Lou, you can just see he's grown a lot as a player. The way he fits in that team and plays with other good players, that's something he's gotten a lot better at from being on that roster. And I think the move up to Walu's done wonders for him as a player. And I think his finishing around the rim has also improved. And with his strength, that's a big deal for Keon. And I was just really impressed, and I thought everything about him screamed McDonald's All-American, top 15 player in the country.
And there were a few other recruits there. Well, for Indiana, you had Armand Franklin playing. Who did Cathedral play Saturday?
They played a really good Zionsville team that was led by Purdue signee Isaiah Thompson.
How did that turn out?
Armand Franklin and Cathedral ended up pulling out a win. Zionsville's a really good team. They got good size. They got good athletes across the board, and they're led by Isaiah. They're one of their teams in 4A, I think, and Cathedral was able to pull out a win, and Armand was really good. He was really good. I thought he showed a lot of growth as a player with his shot. He knocked down, I want to say, 5 plus 3 in that game, and finished with 27 points and 12 rebounds. And just, man, you could see like the strides he's made, and just being able to shoot off the bounce. He's a lot better with that. And he showed a lot off the catch and shoot as well. And Armand's the guy that look, he's made major strides since July. He just looks so much more polished. And, when he puts the ball on the floor, he looks a lot more comfortable with, getting into that jump shot. So he has a couple 1-2 moves into his jumper now. And I think Armand looks like a player that might have been undervalued in the summer, and looks like a really nice get for Indiana.
Who else stood out on that Saturday up there in Southport? I know there were several recruits in different games that people are looking at. Anyone else stand out that maybe Indiana is a key looking at it in the future?
I would say Tayshawn Comer from Cathedral. He's a 6-foot point guard. I don't know if Indiana really looked into him, but he was the guy that caught my eye. He's a 6-foot freshman. He's got a nice little change of direction. He turns the corner very well, and once he hits that corner, he turns it and gets to the basket. That's what we see with a lot of young players sometimes. They don't really have that finish ability when they hit the corner. They don't really finish it and turn it. But he showed good ability to do that, and he showed good ability to find his teammates as well. He's the guy on my radar moving forward. And then Will Watts from Jeffersonville. He's a player that I thought impressed in the the one half I got to see him. I can't really comment on his game, but he's a guy I definitely penciled in on my radar to check out later because I thought he showed a good deal of athleticism and potential.
A lot of good players out there in the state of Indiana this year. A lot of teams with a lot of good guys on it, and they're not necessarily all seniors this season, but there's a lot of talent in that Indiana pool, high school pool, as usual. But seems like a really good talent pool right now.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, if you think back to last year, when you had Aaron Henry, you had Demetri Anderson, Robert Finney, Romeo Langford, and others, all combined with all these guys, and you just think how deep it was then. And then now, obviously, I don't know if it's as good as it was last year, but it's still the class across the board in the state of Indiana is still very deep. And it's just, I think it speaks for the level of basketball that's played in Indiana.
Absolutely. And then switching gears, the Indiana-Louisville game, a great game from a fan standpoint. Louisville doing a good job in the beginning of keeping Indiana in check. It took Indiana a while to find itself, so to speak, but they gritted out a tough win at Assembly Hall over the Cardinals.
Yeah, right for the first 30 minutes or so. It was like heavyweight fight. Every time Indiana would get close, try to take the lead, Louisville would punch back and get off the mat. And there was a big sequence at the end of that game where Indiana went on an 8-0 run that was jump-started by a three-pointer from Robert Fennessy, who, Rob made a lot of timely shots throughout the course of that ball game and stepped up big. And but that three-pointer, starting to run a little over a minute to go, it lasted to about the 16th mark in the game, and that kind of put Louisville away, and that was big. And Romeo Langford was, really good. I mean, obviously, he didn't catch in on his some good looks, but he didn't cash in on him. But it's just he makes some tough shots. I mean, he missed the easy ones, but some of the shots he makes, you really wonder. And I think that's just how his game is and how good of a player he is. And Juwan Morgan didn't have the most points, but I thought he was really good. Managed to stay out of foul trouble. Battle through, taking that shot to the chin. And, you had some contributions from guys like Deron Davis and Justin Smith as well. Rob Fennessy, as I mentioned earlier, and I thought that was just a really solid, tough, hard-fought win for Indiana. But, when the pollsters look back on that, they're going to see a 1-point win over Louisville at home. They're not going to see the win again. That game was won. I thought it was a very just hard-fought game and a good test for Indiana. And I got to tip my cap to Louisville and Chris Mack because I think they'd be where they're at right now with this team, and he's done a really nice job there so far.
Absolutely, they're a much improved team. That's going into that game weeks before. I did not see it as that big of a game, but as we approached, I'm like, oh, wow, this has turned into something, and it lived right up to the billing. A very good game throughout, tight game, closer than it needed to be. Indiana played well from a grit standpoint. They got a lot of good performances from guys they needed to, and I'll get to that. But that free throw issue, man, that is becoming, to me, it's critical because although it hasn't cost them a game yet, it's a matter of time, especially when you get into this Big Ten season on these road games in the Big Ten. You can forget about hitting 64% of your free throws and winning anywhere on the road in the Big Ten.
I know, even though I was watching the game, I wasn't there in person, I could certainly just feel this uneasiness amongst the crowd and amongst everyone when Indiana was going to the free throw line in that game. And I wish I had an answer for you on the why for the free throw struggles, but I can't really explain it. I mean, you got guys that shoot the ball fairly well, just struggling at the free throw line. And I can't understand it. It has to be a mental thing of anything, and it's a thing Indiana needs to get fixed as soon as possible because those are the little things that can make a difference and make or break you, especially come March.
Absolutely, it's a mental thing in my mind. There's no doubt because it's not. These guys can all shoot the ball, and the free throw is the easiest thing from a physical standpoint. But it becomes a mental block. I think they stop and they think about it. You can see on one time where Romeo goes a little long, and the next time barely gets it to the rim. There's too much thinking going on in my mind by all of them when they step to the line. You just need to step up there and it's got to be a routine. It's just got to be a routine and where there's no thinking involved. It's just whether you get the ball, boom, 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 dribble, fire, shoot. Whatever, but they're thinking about it. To me, they stand there and for that half a second, and they think, "Oh, I got to hit this" or whatever. But you can almost see the mechanics working when they step up there. But hopefully, they do get that resolved because they've got a pretty good team. How about Justin Smith? I've given him some grief, but I got to tell you, that was a great performance. He was close to a double-double, 9 and 9. Great performance, just what they needed from him, and great dunk. He got that dunk he's been looking for all year with that Sports Center dunk, but an overall good performance by him.
Yeah, it was definitely nice to see him finish one of those. He's been close a couple times on throwing down a big dunk like that this year, but just hasn't quite been able to pull it off. But you look at Justin, and he did play pretty bad, like on the offensive end against Penn State, but for all the issues he had on that end of the floor, I thought he was very good against Lamar Stevens on an offensive end, and I think they kind of carried over to the Louisville game, and I thought this was one of his better performances of the year. I mean, he's been turned into a rock on the defensive end. I mean, despite on the offensive end, he looks very uncomfortable at times, and he'll do things like pick up a dribble in a bad spot, or not get a good entry for a post-entry feed or something like that, or he just won't get a good angle for it. Excuse me, but he's a guy that Indiana needs to play well. They need him to be a high-energy guy, run the floor, grab boards, contest shots with the defensive end, play good D, and take advantage of dump downs and breakdowns of the defense. That's what Indiana needs for him. That's where he's at his best. And as long as Indiana can get him playing to his strengths, I think he could do that well.
No one gave better minutes off the bench than Deron Davis. He only played a little over 13 minutes, but man, great minutes. 3 of 4 from the field, 3 of 4 at the free throw line, and a presence helping basically helping establish the post for Indiana in the second half as he gets to start for Archie Miller in the second half.
Yeah, there was one move to start that second half where Deron kind of sized up a guy from a little farther out in the mid-range area, backed him down, and put a nice little turn over his shoulder for a nice little
7-foot hooker, yeah.
Yeah. And he looked. I thought he looked a little more mobile yesterday or on Saturday. I don't know about you, but I thought he appeared to be moving better.
Yeah, not only that, both he and Justin Smith both appear to be gaining a little confidence from this play, and it's showing because both with great performances when they were needed, because Indiana was getting kind of manhandled in the first half in the post with Mora of Louisville. They were doing a great job, and what I forget the Cunningham maybe, or what's I forget their center's name. Enoch maybe,
and Stephen Enoch as well.
Yeah, Louisville was doing a great job of the post, controlling that early on. And then Archie obviously made a concerted effort to take that back in the second half, and they did that.
Yeah, the first half, Louisville really was able to kind of score wherever they wanted, and Indiana was struggling to find answers to slow them down. Jordan Moore had a phenomenal day, career day, and that was probably the best I've ever seen Jordan Moore play, and I was very impressed with him and his ability to score basketball, and someone coming out of high school, some around the collegiate game had their doubts about Jordan's ability to score basketball at a high major level. But after seeing that and seeing this season, I'm not going to lie, that sounds like a pretty crazy thought to me, but that's where it was at that time. And I thought he played really well, and Indiana had to control the post. Louisville's big men were getting in really deep and getting good position in the post, and you got to move guys out, and you can't let them get established down there. It's gonna be a long day. Indiana was letting them catching it too deep, and I think Archie made some adjustments. And I think Deron, like you said, Deron's confidence, it does look like it's kind of gone up. He just looks so much more fluid and crisp when he goes to make his move, and I think part of that is confidence. Feeling that the shot's going to go in when he shoots it, I think that's a big deal.
Well, he brings such a different dynamic to the post for Indiana. You've got Justin Smith and Juwan Morgan, but they're very, very different players, and Deron gives them that big, true post man that can back a guy down or hit the little 7-foot baby hook, which he's done a good job developing, and he's probably doing the best job at the free throw line of anybody.
I know, which the presence considering that. You look back to his first 2 years, he really struggled there. So I think that shows you a guy that's either got over the mental hurdle, or B, probably has put a lot of work in at the free throw line on his own, and that's obviously a good sign. And at the same time, we have to think this guy that's coming up with Achilles, which is the worst injury in sports, in my opinion. It zaps you so much. And, at the beginning of the year, this is what we kind of expected it to look like. Deron to struggle to work his way back, And, you know, it was going to take some patience. We have to let him play through some mistakes so he could, you know, get in the game shape and you know, kind of play his way back into form. And I think he's been doing that. And if he can continue to get better and make an impact for Indiana, you know, moving forward down the stretch run of the season, I think that'll be a huge shot in the arm for this team, and that gives them another added dimension.
Oh, absolutely, especially as they go forward into Big Ten play. They're really going to need the big man in De'Ron Davis, no doubt. We'll move forward now. Saturday. On Friday, we'll have you, when you're back on, we'll talk about Butler, as that's Indiana's next challenge at the Crossroads Classic at Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis next Saturday, and Notre Dame will take on Purdue. So we'll get to see all four of those teams play.
Yeah, give the Big Ten two chances to pick up, you know, runs over, you know, an ACC team and Notre Dame and a Big East team in Butler, and that should give the Big Ten another chance to continue to strengthen its resume overall as a conference. You know, obviously, the Big Ten's off to a very good start. I thought it would be, you know, improved, but I never imagined it would be, you know, heading in, you know, the first couple weeks of December. I never imagined the Big Ten would be looked at as this powerful and this good this year. And it's gonna be a dogfight every single night in that league this year. You have to bring it, or you're not gonna win. I don't care who you are. I mean, it's simply the teams are too much, you know, too improved to this you know, Coach Steifer won. You look at someone like Rutgers going on the road and winning at Miami. I think that speaks to the depth of the league, and I'm honestly looking forward to seeing it over the course of the season. I'm kind of excited. You know, in the years past, there's a couple. I mean, it was kind of watered down. There's only a couple of Big Ten teams that you could say, I really want to watch this team. And now there's a lot of options for good games on a night in and night out basis in the Big Ten.
Sounds good. Drew, we'll talk to you on Friday. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you on Friday.
Sounds great. Drew Davis and Peaks.com, brought to you by Bubba's 33 of Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. We've got more coming back here on Indiana Sports Beat. Don Fisher's on the show. We'll be right back after this.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area, or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number. alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
And coming along, welcome in on a Monday here at Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Hope you had a great weekend and your week's off to a great start. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Justin Kalen high atop the Crew Chiefs box.
That's right.
Big weekend for Indiana athletics. A big win in basketball, men's and women's. We'll get to all that. Plenty more. Don Fisher's on the show. Before we get to that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your headlines for this Monday, December 10th, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Somber news as former Hoosier Eric Anderson passes away at age 48. The cause is unknown at this time. Another big weekend for Indiana athletics as soccer loses 2-0 on Friday night to the eventual champion Maryland. Indiana women's basketball extends their nations-long 14-game winning streak to 15 with a 98-74 win over Missouri State. And Indiana men's hoops defeats Louisville 68-67 on Saturday. Vikings and Seahawks are your Monday night football game tonight. Those are your headlines, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
Pretty good weekend for Indiana on the hard court as both the men and women's teams win. Indiana, a huge win over Louisville, 68-67, a little closer than it should have been. Some missed free throws and a last-second three-pointer that made it a little closer than it really was.
That three. How scared were you on that three? I mean, they were all up on him.
Well, they call every – I
get
rewatched the
away.
game, and both ways, but it seemed like more so Indiana. But the calls this year just driving me nuts, some of the calls they make. It just makes the games less fun.
At least they didn't call a foul on that final heave because they maybe could have.
But Indiana wins both. The women also, they won their 9th straight to open the season, 15 straight overall going back to last year. Great start for them. Yeah. Maybe both teams ranked in the top 25 this week.
Here's to hoping.
Not a great weekend if you're a Kentucky fan. No. They lost, both the men and women lost. The men losing to Seton Hall in overtime. A team that Louisville has already beaten, I believe.
That game was phenomenal.
Kentucky sends that game to overtime with a half-court heave just to get it to overtime. But then it goes down to Seton Hall hitting a last-second three-pointer. It was a great, great game right prior to the Indiana-Louisville game.
Or I had crazy flashbacks of Michigan State-Louisville when that was all going on. We're sitting, the establishment we're at, it's 67-67. Seton Hall hits that three, and we're going nuts because it's all Indiana and Louisville fans in there. And we're like, most of us are like, hell yeah, no overtime. They're not going to extend our game or extend this game to push ours back. and then Kentucky comes back and hits a three. But luckily, DRB switched it.
Well, Louisville got some love. The women's team beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
So Kentucky, again, not having a great weekend overall.
Speaking of Kentucky not having a good weekend, Joker texts in and says, big grin on my face today, working in a Wildcat and Card environment and a boiler also after a weekend of losses for all but IU. Great feeling.
Is he wearing his IU red?
I'm sure.
Flying the flag, baby. Flying the flag. Not a great weekend for the men's soccer program. Indiana losing on Friday night to Maryland, as Justin said, in the national semifinal game. Man, I was watching that game. It was so disappointing.
Yeah.
But Maryland would go on to win the national championship last night, knocking off Akron 1-0. So at least they lost to the national champion 2 years in a row.
And that goes back to what we were talking about last week, the fact that when you've got to play a team a third time, that's extremely tough.
Well,
whatever conference it is. I mean,
Maryland, and those games were, it's not like they won 3-0 either.
Right.
It was a 1-0 win and a game that went to PKs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's obviously they won the national championship as well. So, you're losing to one of the best. Look at the teams that Indiana lost 3 matches this year. They lost to number 1 Wake Forest in double overtime. They lost on the road to number 3 Kentucky, and they lose to the national champion Maryland. So not a bad season.
No.
I mean, it's disappointing, that
Sure.
they didn't get to add that 9th banner, but you got to stop and put it into perspective. They made their 20th College Cup. They went undefeated through arguably the toughest conference in all of men's soccer in college, with an 8-0 finish through the Big Ten, and they won the Big Ten tournament. So great season for Coach Todd Yeagley in that program. Corey Thomas, a kid from Corden, and all the other seniors on that program. Great run for those guys. They didn't get the hardware that they wanted, but congratulations to an absolutely phenomenal 4-year run.
something tells me they'll replenish the cupboard and be just fine.
Oh, I'm sure. How about the Heisman race? Little surprise there to me. Kyler Murray from Oklahoma, the second consecutive quarterback from Oklahoma to win the Heisman. But I was a little surprised, unless, like we talked about, unless the votes had not gone in yet after Tua goes down in that game, Alabama game, which Jalen Hurts comes in and puts on the winning performance. That may have hurt. I think that hurt his Heisman performance.
Perhaps.
His Heisman chances. I thought he was a runaway leader for it, but then Oklahoma's offense pretty prolific this year, and Kyler Murray has just done a phenomenal job. I think he may have been the more deserving, but tough year.
Yeah. I knew I forgot something on my headlines.
It's all right.
Slacker.
But it was something. A little bit of a surprise, and I'm not usually I don't think you're surprised a lot with the Heisman much anymore. But yeah, I was a little surprised. I thought that they would go chalk, which those guys usually do, and the voting and that stuff, and going with Tua and Alabama, but it wasn't the case this year.
Yeah. And rightfully so. I mean, Kyler Murray, I think if you look at their numbers, did have a better year. He ran the ball more. Oklahoma's not as good, but hey, both teams are in the playoffs, so I think it's chalk. I think either one could have won, and I wouldn't have been surprised.
Well, guess what? They get to find out because they'll play head-to-head in the national semifinal game when that rolls around.
That's right.
Alabama will be taking on Oklahoma in one of those semifinal games, while Notre Dame and Clemson will battle in the other. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But Indiana off on the basketball court for the rest of the week. This is finals week, man. Everybody's studying for finals, getting ready, at least at IU. They take on Butler on Saturday at the Crossroads Classic up in Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Think that they can take a little momentum from that win. It was a big win over Louisville this past Saturday. There's obviously some issues that need to be taken care of, but they played well enough to win that game and beat a good team. That Louisville team has gotten better and better, and Chris Mack is the reason, obviously. Man, can you imagine if he'd been there last year?
True. Would have gotten ugly in the Yum Center.
Yeah, they're going to do very, very well. Yeah. They did very well with that hire. Obviously, He's done a phenomenal job already. They've beaten Michigan State. They've beaten Marquette, who Marquette had a huge win yesterday. They knock off Wisconsin.
Yep.
So Marquette continues to improve, which will help Indiana because Indiana smoked Marquette back in the beginning of the season, if you remember. So that's also a couple of good notches on Indiana's NCAA resume for the end of the year already with the wins over Louisville and Marquette.
And what a good day for Fox it was on Saturday. You had the Kentucky-Seton Hall game that went to overtime. Then you had the Louisville-Indiana game, which was a 1-point game. And then you had Wisconsin-Marquette that also went to overtime. I couldn't leave my couch on Saturday.
They could not have begged for a better 3-game set of games. I mean, not the Kentucky game not only goes to overtime. Hell, it was a half-court shot that sent it to overtime.
Yeah.
Then you get overtime, and then the Louisville-Indiana game, which was a good game. The single digits was the biggest lead that anyone had, but that was Louisville for the most part. Indiana didn't get their first lead till late in the second half, midway through, about 8 minutes, like you said. And even then, it was always close. So a great riveting game from a fan standpoint. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, and you talked about what this week's going to be like with having a week off, not playing Butler. Archie Miller was actually asked that in the post-conference, what the schedule's going to look like this week. How are they going to keep practicing as much? Let's hear what he had to say.
It won't. We have to be mindful of our players. We're in finals week. So you have to be mindful of those guys and getting them there enough time and enough attention and making sure that their exams are being taken care of. And, we've always approached the finals week with our team as being able to give them, multiple days off to concentrate on the testing. But it's like I told them, when we work, we're going to work. And we have to get better this week as we approach our next opportunity against Butler. We can take a few steps here if we're smart, just in terms of our team. But I think we're a team that constantly, as long as we approach the everyday process the right way, we're going to continue to get better just because we do have a lot of upside and a lot of room to grow. But we'll approach this week as we normally do, exams first, then we'll go to work with practice times, and then hopefully mix up the week with the middle of the weekday off to let them recuperate again, and then get to our Saturday afternoon game up in Indianapolis.
Archie Miller talking about this week coming forth as they prepare to take on the Butler Bulldogs in the Crossroads Classic on Saturday at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. But a heck of a game. Indiana was in a hell of a battle with Louisville. Chris Mack's comments afterwards, you could tell he's definitely not happy. He was not a sore loser in any way, but he certainly didn't seem like he was doling out the compliments on Indiana, which he was more concerned with his team losing than he was with Indiana winning, obviously, which is quite understandable. But Archie Miller also talked about the performance of Indiana in that game. I'm not sure what you got queued up in there.
Let's go with, he answers a question about when his team was trailing. How did he address that? How did he keep the guys calm and just keep them motivated to stick in that game and try to win it at the end?
Continue to bring the energy on the ball. They're a team that really moves and executes, and if you allow them to move and execute, they're going to get good looks. Second part was continue to emphasize defensive rebounding. We gave them long rebounds or second shots. They made us pay, and that was discouraging. From an offensive standpoint, it was just continue to trust and move the ball. Move the ball, move yourself, and let's get good action. And I thought at times being able to play through the post. Duran had a great session there. Juwan was good at times, feeding in and out. And then I thought, Romeo in general just continually being aggressive, being able to draw 10 fouls in a game. That's what he does, being able to get to the line 14 times, kept us right in there. And then, like you said, it was 50-50 plays, whether it was a stop or whether we were able to get a basket, we were able to hang in there. And then last 2 minutes, couple key winning plays.
Coach Archie Miller talking about the performance in Louisville, and he mentioned Romeo. Romeo, a great game again, leading Indiana with 21 points. He does such a phenomenal job getting to the free throw line. He leads the Big Ten in free throw attempts, I believe, or free throws made.
Free throw attempts, yeah.
But that's because he's getting fouled. You can't, and I've talked about this before, they can't stop him. You can either foul him or let him make the shot, but it's coming, and you're not going to stop it, Arlie. I mean, that's a 95% deal that that's going to happen. Romeo was one of the players that met with the media after the game as well.
Was asked about if he has to be the guy for this team. Here's his response.
Yeah, I saw that we were starting off a little slow, so I just felt like I just took it in my hands to get the team going. I felt like that's what got us going ultimately at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I'd asked, that was the first question of the press conference. I'd ask him, it seemed obvious that Indiana wasn't getting a lot done. They seemed a little stagnant in the beginning, and I just asked him if he felt that he saw that and felt that he needed to be the guy. And normally he doesn't really acknowledge that, but he obviously did there. Yeah. That he did see that they were off to a slow start, and took it on his own to get a jump started, and he did just that.
And he also talked about his missed free throw throughout the game. Let's hear that as well.
I really didn't think too much while I was on the line. Cleared my head, and I knew the last two free throws I shot were crucial free throws, and I had to knock them down, and that's what I did.
Romeo Langford there talking about his performance. Great job by the Indiana. We've got plenty more coming up. Don Fisher's on the show. Up next, John Bowles. So let's get to a break, and we'll be back right after this. Stay tuned.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area, or just meet friends for a happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch specials. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Well, that'll get you fired up, nothing will. Johnny B. Good. Speaking of Johnny, John Bowe, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Great. John Bowe from Wave 3 NBC News joins us. Great weekend, except for, man, as a cheesehead, you're about to hang up your card probably, although Green Bay got a nice win. Wisconsin getting knocked off by Marquette over the weekend.
Oh, that's right, man. I'm a Marquette fan, too. I grew up a Marquette fan, and Al McGuire and Butch Lee and Jerome Whitehead and all that, man. I've always been a Marquette fan, too.
Yeah,
that's all right.
Those are good times, the old Al McGuire days.
Yeah, no, what was not acceptable if you're a Badger fan was it is played so horribly. So horrible. Have you ever seen a game where a dude has 30-some points and never took a jump shot, not even a 5-foot jumper, and can't hit a free throw? Yet he was just dealing on everybody. It was amazing.
It sounds a little like closer to Indiana having some problems, not able to hit free throws. They've been playing pretty well, but the free throws are going to cause them some problems. The Big Ten is rough this year, man. These road games, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are. If you go to Wisconsin or if you go to Bloomington or you go to Northwestern, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a rough road to hoe this year. Yeah,
Izzo said in the game before the Badgers game a couple of weeks ago, actually, did a post-game interview with him in a tight one against somebody, and he said the thing about the Big Ten is, Michigan's really good, but it's not top-heavy. It's middle and bottom-heavy, and that has turned out to be so true, man. All of them, all the way down to the bottom, are good.
Oh, yeah, that middle is a fat middle. It's not usually 4 teams or so. No, this is a fat middle. They're really, it goes deep and very high because I think Michigan is the only truly, really good team in the Big Ten. And then everybody else is just good. And that goes all the way down to there may be 2 teams that are so-so. You still have to watch out for those guys. But those other teams in the middle, wow, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, I even saw like bottom feeder Rutgers even had, I think, played Michigan State to a 4-point game or something like that. So there's no easy wins. It's going to be a war all the way. And that's why you can't make stupid turnovers and stuff like the Badgers did. But I still love watching Marquette, man. The story about Marquette is the Hauser brothers. They were the studs. Stevens Point won several back-to-back state titles with those 2 guys playing. And those big white boys can hit from deep, man. And then, of course, Howard, is it Marcus Howard, the big stud for Marquette, is amazing. I love watching him. He is so good, you can't guard him. So that was good stuff. That's all right. That's good stuff. The headline of the weekend that everybody's talking about, though, I don't know if you guys have talked about it yet. The Fox decision, Fox Network decision to bow out of an overtime game with Kentucky in it and take you to the Louisville game here in Louisville market. What do you think of that?
Well, I was at the game, but I think it was I'm sure Indiana fans loved it. I'm sure Louisville fans really loved it, especially since it was another way to stick it to Kentucky. I don't think it was probably a smart business decision because if I was watching that game, I would have been pissed not getting to see the end of that game. And that's just kind of like, that's almost like the Heidi Bowl, man. I thought that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, they took it over to BKI or something like that. But, what they should have done is kept the game there and started the Louisville game on BKI because we were just in a discussion in the newsroom about it. And one of the guys just said, I said, what reason would they have for doing that? And one of the guys said, the reason would be that the Louisville market is the number 1 market in the country for college basketball. To which I said, correct. And the reason the Louisville TV market is the number one in the country is because half, that's actually just in Jefferson County, it's half. It's probably more than half market-wide is Kentucky fans. So that really doesn't make sense if you think about it that way. Plus, I don't think people understand here the really great thing about this region, or Twisted, or both, is fans of UK or U of L would rather watch the other team lose, a heartbreaker, than watch their own team win. And I can prove that. I have been in sports bars, DW3. I remember vividly the night, you remember way back when Kentucky upset LSU in football, in like an overtime game or double overtime or something like that. I was in DW3 or something like that, and actually Louisville was in a really good game at the same time. So we got half the monitors got the Louisville football game on, half they got Kentucky LSU. All the Louisville fans were over around the TVs watching Kentucky, cheering for them to lose. Like, people don't understand the mentality here. So bowing out of the Kentucky game after a half-court shot catapults it into OT, amazing.
Yeah, especially because then you talk about it's split 50-50 Louisville and Kentucky, but then you also have and the numbers, it's not going to work out, whereas if it's 50-50, but Indiana's also a part of that market, the Indiana fans that are across the river there. So you've got Indiana fans that love to see Kentucky lose, Louisville fans that love to see Kentucky lose. So I'm a little surprised. And then the fact that it's a Kentucky game, which is a high-rated team, that they would switch from that. A little shocking in an overtime situation. Probably a mistake they won't make again. I'm sure that they heard about that.
Yeah, now, the other side of the coin is there are fans I've met here who, like, I don't know about you, but, okay, I'm a Wisconsin basketball fan, for instance, March Madness time in the tournament. There are different packages they would offer their affiliates over the years, varying degrees of how much they're going to switch out of games and how much it affects your home team if they're playing in the tournament. And I don't know about you, but I would submit most college basketball fans would rather, during the NCAA tournament, watch the final 25 seconds or minute and a half of an overtime game where, like, Duke might get beat than see the opening tip of my team's game against whomever they're playing.
I'm the same way, and I was just going to say, I'm the same way. And fans are so funny. It's like they just can't stand. It's like somebody's getting something over on them if they continue to show their game if their team is playing. Which I don't understand that, because I want to see the end of this great game. It's going to take another couple of minutes, as opposed to the first few minutes of inconsequential action of a new game.
Right. Now I would say most people are like that. I have not heard very many Louisville fans in my life here, 30 years living here, who would disagree with me. But I have had major disagreements with some Kentucky basketball fans who would rather see, the final 3 minutes of their game where they're up 40 on Lipscomb because the last guy on the bench might get in. They'd rather see that than flipping over to the Duke might lose in the final 30 seconds during the tournament. And I just don't get that, but that's the way some of them are.
Yeah, they're their own brand. They go to their own beat, it seems like. But a great game, speaking of which, Indiana and Louisville over the weekend. A game that turned out to be very close. Just as billed, it was a great finish. Indiana coming out on top 68-67. But Chris Mack's done a great job with that Louisville team. They're going to be good this year, but Indiana gets to win. And a nice win for them now, as they've beaten Louisville and Marquette. So nice two little good things they can put on their NCAA resume at the end of the season.
Yeah, I thought, I predicted they would win. I told you before the season even started, I think Indiana's going to be good, and they hadn't looked as good as I thought they would be, but they got plenty of time to get better. I thought Louisville just didn't get enough scoring out of enough people down the stretch. I mean, you just can't always go to Wara, and so they got to find other guys who can make shots. But that was, they just played a great game. Both sides did, and then IU flexed at the end. That's the way those games go sometimes, especially at home.
And how about Romeo? Romeo Langford being this phenomenal high school star, whatever he's going to do, and yet he's gone on. He's basically, I'm not going to say he's the leader of that team, but he's the leading scorer of that team. So he is the straw that stirs the drink in Bloomington right now, and he's doing a pretty daggone good job. He needs to do some work at the free throw line like the rest of the team, but man, he's taking these games on his shoulders when it needs to be done.
Now, you guys are way more inside on IU basketball than I am, so I'll ask you. It seems to me that Romeo takes a lot of shots, like almost all their shots, and it seems like he must have a bad overall shooting percentage, though. Or am I wrong?
No, he gets fouled more than anybody in the Big Ten. He leads the Big Ten in free throw attempts because he's getting to the line so much, and I think it probably looks like he misses a lot of shots, but he gets fouled more than anybody in the Big Ten.
Okay. Well, that explains that. That's just
now from a 3-point stance. I'm sure, like the rest of Indiana, he does not have a good shooting percentage from behind the arc. As a team, they're not shooting well from behind the arc or at the free throw line, which that's a problem because in this Big Ten that we've talked about, that's going to be so tough and it's so balanced. You're not going to shoot 64% on the road in the Big Ten and have any chance in hell of winning a game.
Yeah. It just again. It just seemed to me, I'm not talking about free throws, I'm talking about from the field and from the arc, like he takes a lot of shots and doesn't make a very good percentage. Now, that may be because I'm watching a guy like, speaking of that Marquette, Wisconsin game, Demetric Trice from three was 30 for 50 on the year going into that game, 60% from the arc. Like, that's good.
That's lighting it up.
That's exceptional, actually. But anyway,
Indiana's an enigma. No. They're one of the best shooting teams in the country from the 2-point shooting percentage. They're seventh going into the Louisville game in 2-point shooting percentage, but they suck behind the arc and at the free throw line. It's a weird deal.
Okay,
their shooting percentage very weird.
Did you see? I broke my NFL boycott yesterday.
No.
I tried to watch some football. And I sat down, and it wasn't 2 minutes into the Colts game where it's funny because I was flipping back and forth, watching the Saints game, and I watched a receiver get blasted by a D-back and no call, no helmet to helmet, and no defenseless receiver garbage. And then I flipped over, and immediately a guy with the same thing happened. They called the defenseless receiver call.
I saw that.
And then about a minute or two later, on a huge play where the Colts picked off a pass in the end zone, they called the safety for the defenseless receiver thing, and he literally was like trying to protect himself, went to his knees, was like trying to get out of the way, and they still called it for defenseless receiver. And I said, oh my God, this is exactly why I don't watch the NFL. And here, that's it. I'm just out. I'm done.
Well, it seems like so to a degree it's carried over to college basketball. Man, sometimes some of the calls they make are just not consistent, and I'm like, what the hell? And it's not one team or another that they're favoring. It's just that, and I've seen several complaints by coaches this year, but, man, they are making a concerted effort to take the physicality out of the game, it seems like.
Yeah, I think basketball is tougher to officiate than football. Football is really not that hard, not nearly as hard.
Yeah, it's a lot faster.
They're ruining football, and, yes, the basketball games I've watched, some of the fouls, like on Hap, and just some of these calls, in the Louisville IU game, awful. So I agree.
John Bull working on anything special, investigative reports?
Working on 2 things I cannot tell you about right now.
Yes.
But they'll be airing soon.
Love it. Love it, love it. Well, I hope the Cheesehead world continues to prosper and grow. How are the grandkids up in Wisconsin?
Josiah's great. Just turned 1. Just helped him. I went up the two previous weekends. The first one for Thanksgiving, second one to help him move, and then I'm going up again here in about a week for Christmas. So they're doing great, and the ice is forming on the lakes. That's the key. So I'll be ice fishing here in a little over a week.
And then the Green Bay Packers, they got you a nice win the week after McCarthy was
No,
let
they
go.
don't matter anymore. They don't matter. When you're out of the playoff hunt, I didn't care at all. I didn't care one little bit about what they did. I mean, it doesn't matter now.
We're done with them. We'll switch to Marquette for you.
All right. Hey, man, do you remember the Marquette jerseys back in the Al McGuire days, the hangout time?
Yes. Oh, my
Dude,
God.
I've been on eBay trying to find those. I did learn something. Bo Ellis designed those.
Did they have the sleeves?
No, they had no sleeves.
Just to hang down below, yeah. And they weren't straight
hang
either.
out.
They kind of dipped
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, they hang out, and then they were made that way. So they had the Marquette, stitched Marquette on the part that hangs down below the store.
Yeah, I remember that. It was crazy.
Yeah. So we used to all, like in high school basketball, right at the same time, late 70s, we would get out for the starting tip-off around the circle, and then our captain would look at us and say, "Time to go, Marquette?" We'd all go, "Yeah," and we'd all pull our jerseys out, untuck them, and have them hang down like Marquette.
Fun days. John Bowe from Wave 3 NBC, thank you so much, sir. Hope the fishing picks up soon.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you. John Bowe from Wave 3 News joins us each week. Love talking to him. Brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry, serving Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Jay and Roger Reynolds take care of your family needs here in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry. We've got plenty more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Don Fisher joins us next. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Don Fisher joining us here in a moment or two. The voice of the Indiana Hoosiers. Big weekend for Indiana on the basketball court, both men's and women's, as they knock off Louisville 68-67 for the men's side, adding another notch on their NCAA resume as they get ready to go into Big Ten play here soon. The next game coming up against Butler. That's this Saturday up in Indianapolis at the Bankers Life Fieldhouse, the Crossroads Classic. And then the women's team, of course, off to a 9-0 start with another win yesterday. And as always, we're joined by the great Don Fisher, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Great. A great weekend for Indiana on the basketball court, both men and women, but especially the men with a huge victory over Louisville, which would be a nice little NCAA resume builder at the end of the season.
Well, there's no question Louisville's a really good basketball team, and Chris Mack has done a terrific job of starting the rebuild with that program, and it doesn't look like a rebuild at all because they looked really good on Saturday, and we knew that coming into the ball game. But I thought Indiana played really well. Did a terrific job, especially in the second half, getting things the way they wanted them done, especially at the defensive end of the floor. And then they were knocking down shots in the second half, too, and that was really critical. But this is a basketball team, as we've stated before, Jim, that has really gone through a process here where they've lost a lot of guys because of injury. They had little continuity for several weeks there because of the injury issues. Practices were cut short, not necessarily cut short in time, but certainly cut short from the standpoint of being able to work different people in different situations. And now that they've got most everybody back at this juncture, I think this team is starting to grow, and I don't think there's any question. If you look back at the last 5 or 6 ball games now, this team has found ways to win, even though it hasn't always been pretty and hasn't been the most glamorous type of look as far as the basketball team is concerned. They've found ways to get it done. And that's the critical aspect that I'm really excited about right now.
Yeah, it's fun. I mentioned the very same thing earlier. I said that they may not wow you, but they're doing what it takes to win games, and usually they're finding a different co-star to do it. We get Juwan Morgan. You expect him to be there. You expect Romeo to be there. But in this past game specifically, 2 guys that to me were the difference makers. And I'll start with Deron Davis, who Archie started him in the second half, and it paid instant dividends with Indiana reestablishing a presence in the post there. And what a phenomenal job Deron Davis did Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question Deron has been really factoring in a lot here lately and has been critical in the sense that Juwan Morgan has had some foul issues. When Deron's been in there, you can see the physical presence that he has. And his really great touch around the basket. And he's gotten better at free throws, too, which has been a real bugaboo for him over the last several years. I don't think there's any question that Deron's presence out there, even though he's still fighting through his Achilles tear and the process that it takes to get that back and his stamina and all those kinds of things, he's really trying to play himself into shape. And he's doing a pretty doggone good job of it at this point. So his presence, no question, that's really, really important to this basketball team. And Rob Phinisey's just been tremendous. This guy from the very beginning of the season, when he's had to take over the starting point guard role, has grown and grown. I think early on we saw some, he looked really good against some lesser teams, and then he kind of struggled a little bit against a couple of the better ball clubs. He just didn't look as confident. And all of a sudden here in the last 3 ball games, I think you've really seen a guy grow up big time and just take over and done a tremendous job of doing what's necessary from his perspective as far as a point guard is concerned. If he needs to shoot the basketball or knock down a shot, he's able to do it. He's getting the ball most of the time where it needs to go. Very few turnovers. And I think it was really unique on Saturday against Louisville. He didn't have a single assist in the ball game, but it wasn't because he wasn't getting the ball where it should have been. He simply didn't have the opportunity to help his team in that regard. What he did help him with was knocking down 3 threes, 2 of which came in the latter part of the ball game, and which were a critical time for this basketball team. And you just like to see different guys step up at different times. And the other guy that probably needs to be mentioned here in the last 2 ball games has been Justin Smith. He has been really struggling with turnovers, really not doing a very good job on the boards. All of a sudden, he gets 9 rebounds in each of the last 2 ball games against Penn State this past Tuesday and again on Saturday. And he also added 9 points in the Saturday ball game, which was also a factor. And he did a terrific job defensively, probably in each of the last 2 ball games. I didn't recognize the performance in the Penn State game so much, but I certainly saw it on Saturday. And the guy that he was having to deal with, Jordan Worrell, was just a terrific player for this Louisville team. And even though he got his points, he had to work for everything. And I really like what I see from this team. They're having different people, as you point out, different people step up in different ball games, and that is really what this ball club needs to do and to be as good as it can be.
Well, Matt and Kelly from Prairie Farm say Don Fisher is the best in the business. You got a text in saying that. I agree with you. Justin Smith is the other guy that I was going to mention. His struggles are well known, but he has really come forward. You talk about growth. You mentioned he was a point and a rebound away from a double-double. That's a huge game. And if they could get that kind of performance out of him, which that's a lot to ask of anybody, but, man, that's going to help him win a lot of games, and he has really come on and given them what they need at the right time, both of those guys that we've talked about.
Well, he's the thing about Justin, he's a tremendous athlete. He's a really smart kid. I just don't think he is as consistent as he needs to be, and that's literally been the problem thus far this season. You'll see him at times just make an incredible athletic play, and then you don't hear from him for another 10 minutes or when he's in there, or whatever the case may be. He doesn't do it consistently, although when you look back at the last 2 ball games, it's the start of something that seems to be really a positive for this ball club. And I think if you talk to Archie, and we'll have that opportunity to do so tonight on Inside IU Basketball at 7:05, I think you'll find out that he's starting to really feel comfortable with Justin Smith doing the kinds of things that he's capable of doing and getting him to do it on a consistent basis. I would say consistency has been his biggest issue, and there's no doubt Deron Davis, as you point out, that guy can really factor in as well if he continues and keeps himself physically ready to play, because there's no doubt his injury issues are significant in the sense that he's come back from an Achilles tear, had surgery on it. He's a 6'10" guy. When you're a guy at 6'10" and 255 pounds or whatever he is right now, that's putting some stress on that Achilles and everything else in your body, especially when you're trying to get back into shape. And it's an issue, there's no question, but he's starting to become more of a factor on a consistent basis as well, and that's what this team needs right now. It needs to be consistently good, or everybody on the team needs to become consistently good, and we're seeing more and more of that as we go along.
Yeah, they're really doing a good job. They're 7th in the country in the 2-point shooting percentage, an area of, I don't want to, concern is the right word, but the free throw line definitely posing a problem for Indiana that I think they're going to have to shore up as Big Ten play starts, because as we've seen, the Big Ten is going to be a gauntlet, and these games are going to be close night in, night out, and every point is going to matter.
Well, there's no question, and free throw shooting is critical for any basketball team. especially a ball club that's good, can hang in with other teams who, no matter who they are. If you're going to win ball games as the season goes along, you're going to have to be able to knock down free throws. And the guys that are really important in that vein, Romeo is without doubt the most important in that sense because he is such a great player getting to the rim. He's going to get fouled a lot. He was fouled 10 times in the game against Louisville on Saturday. He went to the line for tons of free throws. In the first half, he only made 3 of 6. In the second half, he knocked down 4 critical ones at the late stage of the ball game when the game was on the line, when he absolutely had to make them, and I think that breeds confidence in itself. Juwan Morgan's another guy who is a terrific guy around the basket. It's going to get fouled a lot. He was shooting 44% coming into the ball game on Saturday, and I think he just missed 1 free throw in that contest. So if these guys can come around, the guys that are probably getting to the line more than anybody else and can start knocking down some free throws at a more consistent rate as they go along here, it's really going to help this basketball team. Rebounding, that's been a little bit of a concern here the last 3 ball games. They've lost that category in each of the last 3 contests, not by a significant amount, but still rebounding is such a critical factor in any ball game, especially getting some offensive rebounds, and Indiana's not getting a bunch of those at this point. But against Louisville on Saturday, they hung with Louisville from a rebounding standpoint, and it helped them win that ball game. And let's face it, this is a basketball team that's capable, I think, of playing great defense and really rebounding the ball well. And I think the other thing that's coming along at this point, they're a really good shooting team, at least from an inside perspective. They've got to get better at the three-point shot. That's still not quite where it needs to be at this juncture. And Rob Finney stepping up with 3 of them on Saturday, 3 threes, maybe is another good sign for this team in that regard.
Huge. They move on. They get a kind of a break as they're off this week until Saturday. They'll take on the Butler Bulldogs for the Crossroads Classic at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Another good opportunity to put a nice win on the NCAA resume.
Well, you're right. There's no question. This is an important week from an academic standpoint. Semester exams. It's always hard to make sure guys are getting enough of the combo platter practice for basketball and as much study time as they need. I don't think there's any question that's not a problem for Archie Miller and his staff because they do a great job of making sure these guys know exactly what's on the table for them and what they have to do. But it is a week in which they'll be able to practice some, along with the fact that they've got semester exams, and then, of course, a big ball game on Saturday against the Butler Bulldogs, another really tough basketball team that's going to make things very difficult at Bankers Life Fieldhouse and the Crossroads Classic. So, I think this stretch here in the next 3 weeks is probably as important to this basketball team as any because they're going to get a lot of practice time. A lot of opportunities. Of course, once the semester exams are done, then they're out of school. They don't have any classes until after January 3rd when they start Big Ten play. So it's going to be a really important time for this ball club to work on a lot of the things that they haven't had a lot of time to do. And for a lot of those guys that have been injured, it's a great time to really hone their games a little bit too and to have this team as strong as it can be coming into Big Ten play.
Absolutely. Don Fisher, we're so gracious to have you along. Thank you, sir, very much. Look forward to it again next week.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Don Fisher. The voice of the Indiana Hoosiers brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer, they'll get you taken care of. What another good show here to start the week off on this Monday. Justin?
Yeah, was a great show. A lot of good insight from our guests today.
A great weekend, a big week coming up as always. Sure. Chronic Hoosier will be on tomorrow, and Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier will get caught up as Indiana now prepares for the Butler Bulldogs this week. We'll look for the AP poll to come out, the basketball poll, see if the Hoosiers are ranked this week.
Should be later this morning, right?
Men and women actually looking at it. I think that both of those could be ranked this week. How about the women team starting off 9-0? Great start for them.
They should definitely be ranked.
Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with plenty more. For Justin, this is Jim Coyle, and I'll see you on the radio.